it's Darren W. Carter of Carter's Barbecue, and today we're going to do a brisket. Now this is a 13-pound choice brisket from Restaurant Depot. All that you hear in the background, that's my boy. So, you know, this is COVID times. My wife, you probably see her in the back. She's working, he's at home, but we still gonna do this. So we're gonna trim this up. We're gonna put it on the pit barrel cooker, and let's go and see how this turns out. All right, guys, so I have this trimmed out. When you do trim a brisket, you saw that I tried to get this as straight, and as a few of my friends in the barbecue community call it aerodynamic. I don't know how aerodynamic mine is, but it's all right. But the point is to try to have it so that smoke can flow over it freely. So you want to make sure you square it up, do everything right. I took a little bit more off the point than I wanted to. This was not as thick as I thought, so I just kept this on there for some flavor and took off most of the silver skin that I could. Now what I'm going to do now is season it up with just basic salt and pepper, a tinge of my rub, but mostly just salt and pepper. I'm going to fire up the pit barrel, and then we're going to put it on and then let the pit barrel do its thing. All right, we're going to season this up. One thing that I neglected to mention, those trimmings that you have, you could work those big clumps of meat that you saw me take off. You can save those if you have a grinder, one of those KitchenAid grinders things, grind it up in some hamburger, make some brisket burgers, but you can keep that. You don't want to obviously throw all that away, just the fat per se. So what I usually do in regards to setting up a binder for this, I usually use oil. I'm not a mustard or any type of that kind of guy, but this has been sitting out to get room temperature, so it has pretty much of a lot of sweat on it. So just going to put a little bit of my rub here, just really a little bit, but the heavy coating is going to be the salt and the pepper, and that is the main part of the show. So let's get this seasoned up, and once I season this, I'm going to go fire up the pit barrel cooker, and we'll have this sitting on there.
That's not true, Cameron.
It's my family life, sorry. We have it sitting there, you know, until I get to about 160. 160, I take it off. I will wrap it, and then we'll get it until it's nice and tender. All right, so we have that coat. So you see how quickly a 13-pound probably just changes into a 10-pound? So you always have to take that into account. When you're getting a brisket. And I'm not going to do burnt ends with here. Usually on your point, you know, you have the point and then you have the flat. I'm not going to do burnt ends with this. I'm just going to cook it all the way through. And as you can see, I'm seasoning this pretty heavily. Want a nice bark with that. All right, so here we are. Let me get the pit barrel cooker fired up, and let's go from there. All right, guys, as you can tell, it's getting dark outside here in the CLE and chilly, but that doesn't stop anybody from grilling, right? Smoking, cold doesn't stop you, right? I knew. So check this out. I went and pulled it at 160. That's usually the type of the stall we have. I have my pit barrel outside gaining a little bit more temperature, and I'm just going to wrap this in butcher paper. Excuse me, this is not pink butcher paper, but it is serving the purpose nevertheless. Pink butcher paper is the best. If you're going to do that, that's fine. Or if you're going to do the Texas cheat, which is kind of the same thing, but without foil. So you can do that as well. So we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to put it back on a cooker, a pit barrel cooker, and get it up to about 200, 205 degrees. But I'm not looking as much as temperature this time as I'm looking as much as tenderness, okay? So I want this to be tender. I want this to shake and jiggle, and we'll go from there. So let's wrap this up. Okay. All right, we got this, and I'm putting it back on the pit barrel cooker. So we'll see you near the end. What I'm going to do is, once it reaches temp, I'm going to show you that if I don't fall asleep. Now I'm going to show you that once it reaches temp until where I want it to get, and then from there it's going to go at least into about a 2.5 hour rest. So Cleveland time right now today when I'm doing this is about what? 8 o'clock. This was not for dinner because it's not going to be ready. This is going to be ready in about another 4 or 5 hours, so depending on how this goes. But let me put this on the pit barrel cooker, and I'll be back at you once we take it off before we let it rest. All right, guys, we are here. This has been, not for you though, but a pretty long cook. It's about 2:30 a.m. That's only because I overslept. When I'm making this video, and I started about 4 o'clock. But I wanted to at least get 2 hours in of rest for this. So just to recap before we cut it, we trimmed off the meat. It was a choice brisket clip from Restaurant Depot. We trimmed off the fat. We kind of made this squared off, as a lot of my friends call it, aerodynamic, so that the smoke can flow over. I didn't use any binder because it was set out and it was sweating already. Just regular salt and pepper, so that was ground pepper and kosher salt. I just did a very light dash of my particular and homemade rub. We fired up the pit barrel. We let it get to an internal temp. I didn't hang it though. I just put it on the grate, as you saw. But I put it on the grate to a temperature of about 160. Wrapped it in butcher paper, wrapped it back, put it back on the pit barrel till I got about 200, 205 some places, but enough tender that the probe went in without too much resistance. Once I took it out, packed it up into packed it up in a towel, put it in my cooler, and here we are now for about 2 hours. Actually, it's about 3. It's about 2 hours, and here we go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut the flat away from the point here. There we go. All right. This has a beautiful, you can't see this right now. I'm going to bring it closer, but this has a beautiful smoke ring. And what you want to do, of course, with brisket and most meats is cut against the grain. And I can see that my grain is going here. Now this is to keep the moistness in the pieces that you have. So you want to cut against the grain. I believe my grain is that way. So let's just start here, why don't we? Yeah. I am cutting correctly. Pretty nice bend. I think I could have a little better tear, but it does give me a little slight pull. Really good taste. Really good taste. Now, let me show you a smoke ring here. So, pretty pleased as I continue to chew. So there you go. Brisket cook out of the package, final to the table. Brisket can be intimidating a lot for some people, especially those that are new into barbecue. And barbecue is this wonderful thing where the test kitchen is the best kitchen, and these are ones that will try your patience, because you gotta have patience, but that's okay. When you come out with a great product, when you taste it for what you've done and what you've prepared, it's all worth it. So until the next time that we throw something on the grill, hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to ask that you see my social media handles down here, that you like this video. If you like the content, please share it. Subscribe to my YouTube video, YouTube channel. See it, like I said, down below. See all my, excuse me, that's that brisket. See all my social media handles. And until the next time we throw something on the grill, we'll see you later.